and welcome to this month's session of Let's Talk. I am so happy for you to join us today. We have an exciting guest. I'll introduce her a little later, but we're going to talk about some Alzheimer's Arkansas events and things that we have going on. We have begun in-person lunch and learns. We've started a few support groups. You can go on our website to see those things. We have a lot of exciting things going on. We actively have a new grant. So for caregivers, the people that you're taking care of, your loved ones, can be any age with any chronic illness or special needs. So go to our website at alzark.org/grants. You can just visit our website for all the exciting things we have going on, alzark.org. We are planning our hope for this year. We have so many things to offer right now that it would take most of our time to talk about them. So I do want you to call our office, go to our website, and find out about the exciting things going on. But we're going to start today. We have Taco Williams Price from the association. Hey, Taco, how are you? We're so happy to have her today. It's like I haven't seen her in a year, so at least I get to see you on camera. And she's going to be providing us with some great information. I'm going to let her tell you a little about herself in a moment. But one question that I get a lot when I'm out, and you probably do as well, Taco, is like, what can I do to reduce my risk or not to get dementia or Alzheimer's? So we decided for this month to talk about that a little bit. So Taco, tell us a little about yourself.
Well, as Carolyn said, I'm Taco Williams Price. I'm the Director of Programs for the Alzheimer's Association. And really, it's a great time, I think, for us to have this conversation because June is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. So what better time of the year than this to talk about just ways that people can just start to develop plans to live a healthier lifestyle. And you're right, I get that question a lot. And so basically it's making sure people understand that it's never too late to start putting in some of those. Now, there's some things genetically that we can't change in terms of risk that are associated with Alzheimer's and dementia, as we know. But there are some things that we can change as it relates to our diet and our lifestyle. And so hopefully we can kind of tag team at Carolyn and share some of those things today that may help people start to create some plans. And the most important thing is knowing that you just take it one day at a time. You can start today, and it's really something that you can do and take small steps to improve that just really overall contributes to all of us aging well.
Aging well. So I think that's most of our goal is our goals, like we want to age well. So let's kind of start about it, kind of like dive into it and talk about the dementia part and the brain part of it. So like, is there anything that people have not heard that you can do to take care of your brain? Like, is there something like you're going to like surprise us with?
You know what? It's interesting that a lot of people don't really think about, when we think about aging well, we typically think about other parts of the body, right? How do we keep our weight down? How do we, prevent or reverse chronic disease? But a lot of the times people don't necessarily think about brain health in that. And so we always like to say, what's good for the heart is good for the brain as well. And I think that a lot of times people don't make that connection when they think about, I want to get healthy. They don't necessarily think about what impact getting healthy or healthier will have on brain health. And so I think for a lot of people, that's kind of a new revelation because they just hadn't thought about that there was anything that we can do to really keep our brain as healthy and active as we possibly can.
So I say, take care of your heart, take care of your brain.
Yeah.
So we're kind of saying the same thing. So that's good to know. So, and another part of the brain and aging. So I mentioned with some ladies the other day, and this concept of like I'm not supposed to be. I'm old. Like I can't learn new things, or I'm older and like it's slow. Like I can't get it. What about that concept of like not learning new things?
That's not true. So one of the things most common, I always like to talk about the four aspects of just living well, aging well. And most of the time that's going to be physical health and exercise, diet, nutrition. But two areas that we don't necessarily talk about as much is cognitive activity. And learning new things is exactly what that is. It's brain games, it's crossword puzzles, it's reading more books, it's really doing things that kind of challenge your mind. So it's just like you would train your bicep or your abs, right? You still can be able to do those things no matter what your age is, and especially as it relates to cognitive activity and cognitive health. I think thinking about it in a way that it's not that you're too old to learn new things, but maybe it's a new hobby. Maybe it's learning how to crochet and you've never done that before. That all kind of connects back to just kind of training your brain, keeping it active. For me, my grandmother is 87 and she's in late stage Alzheimer's. Interestingly enough, one of her favorite things to do is do crossword puzzles. And so sometimes that's perplexing to us because sometimes she has not so great brain days, as we call them, but then other days, like she will literally sit there and do 4 or 5 crossword puzzles with ease, right? Yeah. And so that for me, that's always interesting because there are some new things that we can learn. We're not necessarily saying formalized education where you're going to go back to college and you may be older, but just think about it in terms of maybe it's golf. You've always wanted to learn how to play golf, and now this is a great chance for you to do it. So yes, I think cognitive activity, but also to look at things from a social engagement perspective, even just keeping yourself socially engaged. And a lot of us are trying to figure out new ways to do that now, right? Yeah. So going back into kind of public life, but even social engagement, getting back involved with social activities, because even a higher level or like having conversations and interactions often is also stimulating the brain. So it kind of all goes back to ways to kind of promote and engage in cognitive activities that really keep us going.
So we just threw out that myth that when you get old, you can't learn new things. So that's Absolutely. Just like forget that. I don't want to hear that ever again. Like, right?
Throw that out. There's always something new we can learn to keep our brain.
Always learn something new. Thank you, Taco, for that. So outside of it, so since you kind of went on cognitive, let's talk about your 4 areas and aspects to explore when we're trying to reduce our risk. So let's talk about the risk.
Yeah, so we've touched based on those two, and just really quickly, even if we think about to our earlier point, physical health and exercise. Physical health, we think about the vanity part of it a lot of the times. Oh, I need to lose weight. I want to look better, but also thinking about and understanding that a lot of the times there is a high risk of people who have cardiovascular disease. So that's going to be high blood pressure, right? And there is a direct risk associated with individuals who have high blood pressure and their risk in terms of having or at some point getting an Alzheimer's or another type of dementia diagnosis. Okay. So if we think about how to reduce risk, as it relates to, physical health and exercise, it's keeping our weight down. It's monitoring our blood pressure, adjusting our diets so that we have an opportunity to eliminate those foods that are high fat, high salt, high sugar, the good stuff, things we really love to eat. But I think it's really focusing on those 4 areas in a way that it's really just taking small steps. If you are a smoker, how about setting some goals to smoke less? Right? If you do eat those types of foods, go out and find ways to look at how to convert some of those comfort foods, some of those meals that we love, to a healthier recipe. And there's a wealth of information out there, of course, on our website at the Alzheimer's Association, but also just simply by Googling how to convert some of those meals that we love. So I think physical health and exercise, of course, making sure that we have an opportunity for moderate exercise, even if that is taking 15 minutes twice a day to just kind of get moving. And that could be, if you're on a Zoom call, like most of us have been for a very long time, turning the camera off and just walk in place. Or I know I have dumbbells underneath my desk. So when I'm not on camera, so it's really just finding simple ways to get moving, eliminate some of those lifestyle things that in the back of your mind, your spirit's telling you like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. Oh, I shouldn't be drinking this. and if figuring out ways to reduce the consumption of those things that may not be good for us, and over time you'll see an impact. You'll feel better. Certainly, as it relates to cardiovascular disease and other chronic diseases, it's going to lower your ability to do some other things, manage those kind of diseases with medication, but also lower your risk for dementia and certainly Alzheimer's diagnosis.
Okay. So one thing I've tried to do is, because we have to practice what we preach, right? Uh, and one thing I found out, and I got this idea from like some webpage, but we're all kind of connected to our phone. So I decided, so it's not connected, no cord anymore. So like I decided to walk while I talk to people, like through the hallway of my house. So like, girl, like one day I was like, I didn't look at how long I had been on the phone. I was like 4,000 steps on the phone.
Yeah.
So there are ways that we may not even really think about it, like making it part of what we don't think about. So thank you.
And
for
if we
those.
think about risk, Carolyn, women are at the greatest risk of having a diagnosis of Alzheimer's and other dementias. African American women and Hispanic women are certainly at a higher risk than white women and Caucasian women are. So even if we think about that and we layer that on top of any family link. So in my family, for being specific, both my grandmothers unfortunately have experienced life through that Alzheimer's journey. So what that means for our family is we have to be more conscious. We're African American, we're women, and we do have women in our family who have Alzheimer's. And so for me and my sisters especially, but also for my other siblings, we've really got to think about, what that means in terms of how can we reverse some of those things? How can we avoid chronic disease, especially as it relates to cardiovascular health? And so those are just new ways for all of us to think about it. If we understand the risk for some of those things, then we can start early. Whether in your 30s, you're not too young to start thinking about how to reduce the risk of Alzheimer's and other dementia. But certainly if you're older, you can still do some other things to just to make sure that your brain and your heart stay as healthy as possible.
Okay. So we've talked about, it seemed like we've went through almost all of this, haven't we? So we went through cognitive activities. We went through diet and nutrition. I think we touched on social a little bit, and let's see if we can talk a little bit, because like we've been in COVID, we are still kind of weary of social engagement. So let's think about some ways we can have social engagement, especially if you can't get out as much, and even like other new ways to and the importance of social engagement.
Social engagement is important for a couple of different reasons. Number one, we've all been stuck in the house and we can't wait to get out and see our friends, see our families, even that we still hadn't been able to see safely for about 1.5 years now. But there's another component. If we think about overall aging well and just and living well, another part that we have to consider is our mental and emotional health too. And I think as we have experienced, going through this pandemic, I think the social engagement is more important because now we have that layer on top of it. Yes. A lot of us, for people who use the gym to, as a part of the mental health and emotional health regimen, well, that was shut down for a very long time. So what are you doing? So I think not only from a physical health perspective, but if we look more holistically about how to maintain good health, then I think, for social interaction purposes, we get to see our friends and family. We're going to laugh more. We're going to be more physically active because maybe we're going more places and we've got to get out of the house and off the couch. But also, I think from a mental and emotional wellness standpoint, I think it's really important too. Of course, just that self-isolation, not only just for regular people, and what that really feels like in terms of the stress and anxiety that brought on for many of us, but especially for caregivers who are taking care of people who may have some type of dementia. And then for people who are living with diseases like Alzheimer's, dementia, and others, it's really critical to start to re-engage. Some of that may be still, virtual, participating in online painting classes, things like that. But also more and more things are opening up that you can still kind of socially distance if you're not quite comfortable doing that. But I think just finding new ways to, and spend a lot more time outdoors, which is, I think, something that a lot of us have done during this last almost a year and a half. So I think for a lot of different reasons, that social engagement, that social interaction is really critical now, because I think probably more now than ever, we realize how much of an impact that has on our mental and emotional health as well.
So we've learned important parts of taking care of yourself, and you said we can begin today
You can
with
begin today
with small changes.
with small changes.
So what else do you suggest? Like, because I think for most of us, it has to become like this habit. And how do we like stay? Because I could do something for 3 days or a week. So give me some other ways to help us make those small changes.
Well, I mean, I think it's, as I mentioned earlier, the small changes could mean, if you smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day, how do you smoke 1 less cigarette an hour? Right. It could be, because again, that goes back to the lifestyle factors, just trying to make small changes so that in the long term, your body, your brain.
So I don't have to stop today.
You don't have to totally stop. It would be unrealistic for somebody to say, "Oh, I'm just going to go cold turkey today, and I'm not going to do it again." Some people are successful in that way, but sometimes it doesn't have to be grand gestures. Like I said, it could be really getting up and just moving around, walking outdoors, around the backyard. I know in my family, my mom didn't get a chance to see her grandchildren for a very long time. So now, she'll get out there and she will play t-ball with them, or she's bought them a little swimming pool to go in her backyard. And so now she's out there getting more active with them. And that's a small step. It doesn't mean that she's going to go to the gym and implement this full workout routine, but certainly a small step is to just think about ways that you can get more active based off of what you can do and how you can implement that. I think also really being conscious of ways to reduce stress. Like we said, this year and a half has really brought on a lot of stress and anxiety for a lot of people. And just really thinking about ways to eliminate and reduce stress, but also for people who have found themselves caregiving for others. I know in the beginning of the pandemic, some people made decisions to take their loved ones out of long-term care facilities and bring them home. So now they were caregiving for someone. It's important to remember to make sure you prioritize your own health. So start back scheduling your own appointments. And again, all of those things are going to make you feel better. They're going to get you out of the house more. It allows you an opportunity to engage with people socially, even if it is the medical team and the medical staff at the clinic. But again, those are just some of the small steps I think people can do. And as it relates to, the diet part of it, which is really difficult for a lot of us. I know one of the things that I saw people doing more and more often during the pandemic was really planting gardens, right? So that even in itself, something as simple as that, for those who have the backyard space, to plant a garden is going to obviously produce healthier foods, fresh fruit and vegetables for you, but there's some physical activity connected to it. And many people along the way have talked about it was a way for them to kind of take their mind off things. So again, that's that reducing of stress and anxiety, but then also gardening really is a cognitive activity. You've got to really think about what you're planting, how to do it, when to harvest.
So as you are talking about things, I have noticed how, like you talked about your mother with her grandkids, like she really kind of made a building block. Because when you think about her activity, having the grandkids comes up, she is social. She is getting some physical activity. Like she is kind of like layering and stacking activities. So it does not seem like, okay, I have to do this one part and this. And even with gardening, like you said, like it gives you physical activity. You have to cognitively think. So like building upon each other, so you can have one activity that take care of a lot of things. Like this, that's a good idea.
Yeah, and even if you don't have the backyard space, you can go back.
Like I did something. Like I killed my. Let me tell you, I have no green thumb, and I planted some vegetables and stuff in like buckets and pots. So they were okay, but that's not like my forte. But I had fun doing it because like afterwards, like the day of and a few like, but I'm like, "Ooh, we gotta keep doing this, like to be a gardener." And so I have a gardener friend, and you think about the social engagement, like she on like social media with like gardeners and people.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But yeah, so you
I'll
can
tell you one
really
of the
pick
things
out
that
an
I do.
activity, and it could almost take care of all the components, or at least two or three components of your healthy behavior.
Yeah, walking around the neighborhood with a neighbor or calling a family member over to just go for a walk and just talk. For those of us who are still working, it's exactly what you said. I've got a 2 hour block where I've just got to listen to a conference call. I don't have to actually say anything. Then yeah, you can take that from your cell phone. You can still be engaged and honor that commitment, but consider taking a walk while you're doing it. And so you don't have to go to the gym. You don't have to go to a stadium to use their walking track. Those are things that you can do in your own neighborhood. And again, those are small steps. Obviously, we take in consideration any safety precautions that you need to take so that you stay safe. But certainly just it's small things, it's small steps along the way, because like you said, it serves as a building block for the long run. This is kind of a long-term game, right? It's
Yeah.
what can we all do so that as we age well, that we stay healthy, and just that realization that it's gradual activities we're talking about. We're not saying go and pay $200 a month for a gym
A gym
membership
membership. Yeah.
and swim, dive, swimming miles and laps. But it's really just small things that you can do that really are at your exposure, and you probably never have thought about them in that way.
Yeah, I had a viewer say swimming is great, and it is great for this time of year because it's hot. So it's Arkansas hot. So and I do a water aerobics class, so I get social exercise. So like when you kind of think about what you're doing usually a number of things. You're getting a number of benefits from one activity. So yes, and I have to use my brain because the instructor is telling me to do stuff I've never done before, and then I'm trying to keep up, and
Well,
so
one of the things that I challenged myself to do was to learn how to swim. I have a small child. She swims better than I do. And so this has been a great opportunity for me to learn something. And so again, to the person who would say, well, I'm getting older. I feel like I've learned as much as I need to learn. It's like, no, I can learn how to swim. And I think when you get a little older, that's a lot more difficult than you think because you
I've
have
tried. It's difficult.
apprehensions and
Yeah, yeah. But that's good.
yes,
But at least, so it goes back to the thought of even, so let's say you don't learn to swim, but you learn a lot of the steps and like you're taking the class to do it, you're still using your cognitive brain
absolutely.
to learn new steps. I always say we have smartphones, like you might not learn a new language, but you might learn new words
Yeah.
of that language. So you can download apps to do a lot of things, but don't say you might not learn Spanish, but you might learn how to say hello. You might learn a few phrases and you have learned something new. So
Absolutely.
absolutely. I want to first thank you for giving us your time and giving us this great information and charging all of us out there to make small steps to make sure that we can reduce our risk of developing dementia. Like you said, women are at higher risk, and then you add women of color. So there are things we can do to try to help reduce the risk. But before you go, I'm going to give you a couple minutes because we always get this, people like get us confused. So
Yeah.
this is like a great time. Like you don't have to get us confused because I'm from Alzheimer's, Arkansas, and she is from the association, Alzheimer's Association. So if you need to contact them, we can have you to contact. Do we have your contact information, Taco?
I think I can certainly we can certainly put it on the screen. And you're right, Carolyn. Lately we've been getting calls and they'll ask, so are you the purple organization or the blue and green? And so we are the purple organization. But the great thing about the two of us, I think, is a great opportunity for us to talk today is that we work well together. There have been times that people have made a donation and we know it's for you all. We'll call you guys up and say, hey,
We
we got
do the same thing, exactly. Like we get, and that's
so
how I knew your building had moved
yeah,
because we got a donation and we're like, this is to the wrong place, and we had to find your address. It's like they moved,
yeah.
but
Yeah, but most certainly
yes,
there are things that we do very similar. There are things we do well together, and we work very well together. We make a lot of referrals of constituents who call us. Our common goal is to really make sure that we provide the best support and services to people who are living with Alzheimer's and dementia and their caregivers. And
yes.
whereas our organization may not be able to do that, if there's some gaps that we have, then we certainly call on Alzheimer's Arkansas to help us figure out what we need to do. Yes, thank you.
And
So
that's
there's
the number for the Arkansas chapter. And same as here, we there's some things we can't do, and we do get a lot of questions about research and medications, and I'm like, I know who to get you to. So
yeah,
we know how to get
yeah.
the people of Arkansas to the association. So I want to thank you again, and I really enjoy working with them. So you guys will see us out in the world as we open up a little bit more together. So thank you, Taco. I really
You're
appreciate you,
welcome.
and you have a good day. But before we leave, I just want to remind everyone that we do have grant money available to caregivers across Arkansas, and you can visit our website at alzark.org. You can look at grants or just go on our website. We do have lunch and learns opening up. We do have a few support groups that have started back up person to person. We have Zoom support groups as well. So, and I think a few of those will continue to provide support to caregivers as we open back up. We do have the Hope coming up in October. So, thank you for joining us today. Feel free to call us, visit us on our website, and thank you again for your time. Have a good day.